College football fans, black and gold fans, welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, the only channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape. In other words, when it comes down to all things college football, from coast to coast, north to south, we've got you covered here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. It's great to be back with you. I've been away for a couple of weeks. I've been very busy with this and that because, as we all know, life does happen. The world does turn, but it's great to be back with you. This is my instant reaction and recap episode 2. Finally, after nearly 90 days, 3 months of searching since the point to where we first learned that the Iowa Hawkeyes were not going to retain much embattled offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz, Iowa has named a new OC, and congratulations, that goes to none other than Tim Lester. All right, that's it. So this is my instant reaction and recap to Iowa hiring Tim Lester as their next offensive coordinator. So finally, I get to do an episode on this. And before I say anything else, I would like to just thank you all. For those of you who are members of the Black and Gold family, I appreciate and love you for your support and everything that you do for the channel. If this is your first time checking me out here on the channel, please get involved. Tell your family, your friends, your fellow college football fanatics to check me out here on the channel. And as always, I always encourage, welcome, and ask for your participation. Because after all, you are the ones who drive these episodes. I do this not for monetary gain. I'm just an average Joe college football fan who loves everything about this great sport. So please, if you want to get involved, if you want to respond to anything that I state or anything of dealing with my analysis, my insight, or opinion during this episode, please get involved. Exercise your right as a college football fan. Please comment below, and I promise you that I will get back to each and every one of you individually much sooner than later via those comments, so I can't wait to hear from you. And please, if you like what you hear and what you see, please click that subscribe button, get notifications. I'd hate for you to miss additional episodes that will be coming out in the near future. Even though it is the off season, I have a lot of fun episodes to share with you during these down times until spring football at least is back upon us. So let's go ahead and dive into this hire for the our Iowa Hawkeyes. So as I stated, it's taking nearly 90 days for Coach Kirk Ferentz to name his son's successor. And if you have been under a rock for the last 3 seasons, you know what's been going on offensively at Iowa. The offense has been offensive. I mean, they have slowly regressed the past 3 seasons. Just when we thought as Iowa fans they could not get any worse than the 2022 season, 2023, Iowa's overall offense ranked 133rd out of 133 teams. That's right, dead last to historic status. I mean, easily you could say the worst offense in the entire modern era of college football. So this hire, the replacing of Brian Ferentz, was long overdue, but taking 3 months, I'm surprised by that. I'm not shocked, as most of you might be, but we all know KF, being Coach Kirk Ferentz, he does things his own way. You knew that this search was going to be on his timeline, how he wanted to do it. that shows the place of power that he has within this program and this athletic department. But then again, shortly after, Iowa names interim AD Beth Goetz the new full-time AD. This hiring is announced within a week, so maybe that kind of lit a fire as well. But I'm not too surprised that it took this long for this to happen. I would have liked it to happen sooner, just like you would have. But the final hiring, the final product, that's where we can maybe debate right now. All right, that being Tim Lester. So Tim Lester, if you don't know who he is, he formerly was the Western Michigan head football coach from 2017 to 2022. As a matter of fact, side note, he is the gentleman who replaced the bald-headed beauty, PJ Fleck, when he left Kalamazoo for Minnesota to take over the Gophers. In his seasons at Western Michigan, his overall record was 37-32 as its head man. They made 3 bowl game appearances, would have been a 4th, but one of those seasons was the COVID-shortened year. Western Michigan went 4-2 and did not participate in a bowl game. In his 6 seasons as the head man of the Broncos, he only had 1 losing season. That was his last season in 2022. 2023, he was not completely out of the college football or football loop, I should say. He spent last season as an analyst for the Green Bay Packers in 2023, so he definitely has stayed involved and around the sport. But that's his only FBS head coaching experience, and overall, that's not too bad. When you look at what he did in Kalamazoo, not bad. 1 losing season in 6, winning record. I get it, it's MAC football, it's not Power 5, but still, we all know that the MAC plays solid football. They do, all right? Now, here's the thing that is trending throughout Hawkeye land, okay? I've been on the websites, the fan sites, I've read the articles, the media outlets, that a lot of people, and I'm going to ask this right now, all right? Here's my question for you. It's the first 7 minutes of this episode. This hire, Hawkeye fans, college football fans, where are you on this? Because right now you're going to be in one of 3 places. I like the hire, I get behind it, I agree with it, or you're going to be the opposite end of the spectrum. I disagree with it, I hate it, or you're going to be right here in the middle, the me, it's okay, it makes sense, it's just business as usual, what's going to change? So I want to hear from where you are. Please get involved, comment below, like, share, rate, subscribe. I want to hear from you. Now, where I am, before I go ahead and give the pros and cons of this hire, all right? Now, the last 12 hours since this hire became official, I've kind of been all over the radar a little bit with this, all right? So if I had to use just one word to describe where I am now that I've had a chance to take this in, to do a little bit of research, to self-reflect, to maybe watch some tape, this is where I am. I'm going to go with appealing. To me, this is an appealing hire. This has my interest, all right? A lot of people right now are using singular words like disappointment, confused, progress, good, bad, ugly, wow, wow, wow. It's all over the place. Or, hey, usual or expected, okay? But me, I'm right there at appealing, which means I'm right there kind of in the middle of, I'm not either sold yes or no on this hire yet. I need to see this product on the field. So I'm right there in the middle, but I completely understand those who are on both sides of the fence. And right now, looking at all those outlets, reading the reports, it seems like the majority of Hawkeye fans, Now, maybe not the vast. To me, vast majority is 80% or more, but I'm going to say the majority of Hawkeye fans do not approve of this hire. They really find it very underwhelming and a lot of disappointment and maybe even some anger. I mean, there's a lot of words, a lot of negativity around this hire, but I do understand why. I mean, taking 3 months to get here, I get it. I get your anger, your disappointment, because this was not the slam dunk hire that most Iowa fans wanted or maybe even expected. But I've got to say this, who did you really think we were going to get? Anybody who's a well-established OC was not going to come in here and take over the current dumpster fire that we have. They just weren't. I mean, early candidates' names that we heard, that apparently Kirk Ferentz had a very short list of candidates. I mean, and Tim Lester, I don't think he was KF's first, second, or even third choice for this position. Early on, we heard two names that were prevalent all over the place. It was Joe Philbin, who did have some head coaching experience at the NFL level, a former Iowa offensive line coach, early with Kirk Ferentz when he initially took over the program in 1999, and then former Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst. Those were the first two names we really heard circulate and really were gathering a lot of momentum. But as it came to fruition, Paul Chryst is the one that really seemed to be KF's primary target, or the one that he preferred to hire in this position. And Paul Chryst was offered the position, took a week to think about it, and then declined the offer. And we don't know, details have not come out yet why he declined. I mean, could it maybe be a money issue? Maybe. Or the most likely to me is maybe it just came down to these two forces were not going to mesh well together. All right. And I say forces being KF and whoever the new OC was going to be and is going to be, to where it's still, this is no shock here, spoiler alert to some people watching, but don't be surprised. And if you were going to be surprised about this, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. But there's no doubt that the new offense moving forward under whatever OC was going to be named, it still was going to have a lot of influence of KF on it. It just was. Maybe not his offense to the point to where he's not calling the plays, but he is going to continue to have a major say-so in what this offense looks like on the field. And maybe him and Paul Chryst just couldn't come to an agreement on that. And by then, Joe Philbin's name had kind of dispersed. It had gone cold. And then after Paul Chryst had turned it down, then we heard a lot about former Duke offensive coordinator Kevin Johns. When you looked at his resume, really good on paper, but apparently, and this is something that broke, I believe, Friday morning, that he was now a late addition candidate. And there was all these rumors going out that he was going to be Iowa's next OC, but apparently it fell through. And KF never offered Kevin Johns officially the job as OC. So Tim Lester, this really came out of right field. I mean, I started hearing this name on Sunday morning, and then by Sunday late afternoon, early evening, we're hearing he is going to be named the OC. So that's why I said I don't think this was his first, second, or third choice. I just think it came down to this is our guy. But I don't think KF can say exactly that and be truthful to say, I got my man, or we got the guy we wanted from day one. That's just not true. And you're not going to fool us if that's what you try to say. And I'm really interested to see what KF says when he does his first official, his PR, when he does his first public interview, answering those questions about how this hire came to fruition. So he can't say that. And if he does, you're just gaslighting us. Okay. And we know that. All right. So, yeah, that's why I think a lot of Hawkeye fans are absolutely disappointed with this. But I'll say this, if you would have hired Tim Lester 6 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, I think it would have been then received a little bit more positive because I understand that 90 days to do this, and this is the result, this is the name, this is the guy who most of us don't know, like I kind of did there with the crickets at the beginning of the episode. I totally understand it. I do, and I can see why you're frustrated. But if it would have happened sooner, at least then you could say, this is the guy that I had kind of pegged right from the get-go, or one of the very few. But it obviously did not play out that way for Coach KF. So when you look at what he's done, what Tim Lester has done formally as an offensive coordinator, I shared with you his head coaching experience at Western Michigan. But he really has been an offensive coordinator only once in the past, period. And that's going to be both overall and at the Power 5 level. Back in 2015, I believe it was, he was the offensive coordinator at Syracuse for basically a season and a half before he ended up going to Western Michigan. These were bad times for the Orange, okay? They just were. For a lot of you who are my age, I'm my early 40s, I could say this, that this was a time period when he was the OC at Syracuse where it was, oh yeah, Syracuse, that basketball school, right? That's kind of what it was, okay? So these numbers I'm going to share with you, while he was the OC at Syracuse, you can't put it all on him. The head coach was fired, let go during the season, I believe, and he then was named interim OC. He was like a co-OC, then was named the acting OC, and during his season and a half, Syracuse went 5-14 overall, 119th out of, at that time, 128 total teams in total offense. Not numbers that really jump off the page, at least not in a good way, at least. And something else, because I'm really looking at what he needs to fix at Iowa, which is first and foremost the passing game, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. But while he was OC, other than going 5-14, 119th in total offense, his quarterbacks completed 53.6% of their passes. Just not good. Okay? So once again, I understand why fellow Hawk fans are maybe a little up in arms or heavily confused by this. Now, please get involved, like, share, comment. Can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for everything you do. Sammy Sosa style. Now, so that gives me reason to be a little optimistic. And once again, appealing. Okay, let's see. Now, before that, after he left Syracuse, he was for 1 year the quarterback coach at Purdue. So that's a positive thing to say, hey, he's got Big Ten experience, but it was only for 1 year, and it was quarterback coach, which I think that's a good thing for Iowa, because that's another key that he has to implement is quarterback development. It's been missing for a while at the University of Iowa. So the 1 year that he was Purdue's quarterback coach, this was 2016, it was not under the offensive brainchild, the offensive juggernaut, the offensive autism of Coach Jeff Brom, who is the mad scientist and absolute offensive genius. This was during the downtime of Purdue under Coach Darrell Hazell in 2016. But when I looked at what the Purdue quarterbacks did, that single year that he was in charge of that position group, not bad. If you remember this guy's name, David Blau, he was a sophomore that year at Purdue, ended up completing his career at Purdue with very good numbers. Former NFL player. I believe he played 4 or 5 seasons with the Lions at the pro level. So good quarterback. So right there, that's a plus for him. He developed a good quarterback, even though it was just for 1 year. But David Blau's numbers that year, while Tim Lester was his quarterback coach, he threw for 3,352 yards. Pretty good. When's the last time we could say anything like that, Hawkeye fans? 25 touchdowns. Once again, these sound like Heisman Trophy numbers to us. 25 touchdowns, but to 21 interceptions. So that number, that ratio there of TD to INT, 25 to 21, gives me a little bit of reason to step back. But then again, he was a young quarterback, a sophomore. And that in no way really reflects Tim Lester. Well, maybe a little bit, but not much, okay? And overall that season, and now he was not the OC there, okay? But that year, Purdue finished 3-9, so absolutely bad record, losing record. Next year is when Jeff Brom took over, but as I said, Tim Lester left. Jeff Brom decided not to retain him in that position. But in 2016, Purdue finished 101st in total offense. But that year, Iowa was 95th in total offense. I mean, how great does that sound right now? 95th or even 101st. But when you looked at the inside numbers for that season, Purdue was much better with passing yards per game, touchdowns per game. It really came down a lot to turnovers, and their defense just was not good. All right. So, and when you looked at the total passing offense that year, Purdue was well above Iowa's. Okay. So kind of good and bad there. I mean, you mix the bad with the good when he was the Purdue quarterback coach. So that's his real experience at the Power 5 level. Okay. So this is where I am. I'm going to talk more about this, and please get involved. Let me know if you like or dislike this hire and why. Please don't tell me yes or no, but give me an explanation as well. I want to hear from you as in depth as possible. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. This is, like I said, appealing to me because I kept it up here realistic. Who are we really going to get? Like I said, who wanted to come here? I mean, and who was willing to coexist with KF, all right? And I'm going to get back to what I said, that this is going to be a partnership. Maybe even you could go to the next level. Hell, this is going to be a marriage. They have to figure out what can we do here to stay together and stay strong. There is going to have to be some give and take here, all right? KF obviously does not want this offense to do a complete 180. He doesn't, and quite frankly, I don't either. But he's going to have to let Tim Lester switch things up and sprinkle in, like salt by, a couple things here and there. He has to be able to give him some rope to do his job, to re-energize and revolutionize this offense, to reinvigorate it and breathe some life into it. So that's really going to be telling how this plays out on the field, in coaches' meetings, in the press box, and behind closed doors. So when he gets here, there's three things that Tim Lester really has to do. The three biggest things to me. First of all, he has to help the Iowa passing game grow. Their vertical attack has been absolutely non-existent the last 3 years, other than maybe to the backs in the flat or to their tight ends. But they've got to get the wide receiver core involved. They do. And his numbers, even when he was the Western Michigan head coach, the offensive numbers weren't bad. And when you look at when the transfer portal came around, that a lot of his frontline receivers as the Bronco head coach transferred to Power 5 schools, a lot of them within the Big Ten Conference. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel for that. All right, so keep that in mind. I think this guy he's shown he's been able to get the most out of the talent that he has, to this point anyway. And the other thing I like about him, something that kind of a side note, Brian Ferentz wasn't this, but Tim Lester absolutely is. He's a very active recruiter as well. He is involved in that process when BF definitely was not. All right. So come in, utilize the talent that we have, get rid of these these route trees that we have, which are either way too difficult, which is why Iowa never plays freshmen out there on the perimeter. Maybe these route trees are just too damn difficult, or maybe they're just so damn elemental and elementary that what? It's that simple and people can't figure it out. So get rid of the route trees, utilize the talent we have. We have got to get the wide receivers more involved. And I think there is good talent there with Caleb Brown, Seth Anderson. I think those two can ball out, but they've got to be given the opportunity. Second thing he's got to do of the three, you got to develop quarterbacks. I mean, we haven't had that for the longest time, especially under the BF regime. I mean, we saw for ourselves Deacon Hill. I mean, just can't throw. Marco Lyonez, maybe he can throw. We only saw him at the very end of the year in the Citrus Bowl against Tennessee. Yeah, the guy can get out there and run for his life, but obviously he showed us nothing. Nothing that says that he can throw the ball downfield. And when I saw Marco go in there, to kind of a side note, I told myself that, hey, I don't know if this guy can throw. I mean, he can get out there and run and scramble, which that was nice to see for the first time forever from an Iowa quarterback. But that's not offense. That offense is not going to hold up for an entire game, if not for an entire season. All right, that wasn't offense. It was just, hey, run for your life and make something happen. But obviously, he needs the reps. He needs more experience. He hasn't proven that he can throw. But the flip side of that is we knew Deacon Hill at that point couldn't throw. All right, so why not? Okay, so you have to develop quarterbacks. He's got to be able to do that. Okay, and the third thing is, this may not fall directly on his shoulders, but he has that say-so in it, being the head of the offense. The offensive line must improve. The last few seasons, since we've seen this offense decline, the offensive line has not been up to Iowa or KF standards. It just hasn't been. I mean, Tyler Linderbaum, bless that guy, and he's killing it at the NFL level. He was able to maybe help some of those deficiencies hide a little bit, but the last 2 seasons, actually last 3 seasons, you could tell. I mean, that's the main problem. So he needs to get that offensive line to protect better both on the run game and pass blocking. They have got to be more consistent, give your quarterback more time, and keep those holes open. And Tim Lester, you can tell, he does put a premise also on running the ball. I mean, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard rushers at Kalamazoo when he was the head man at Western Michigan. So I hope he does bring that mentality to Iowa as well. We need to reestablish our run game, because if we don't have that, if our offensive line does not do better, we don't have a chance. We just don't, okay? We have to be able to be two-dimensional at the University of Iowa to succeed, all right? So get that offensive line in shape. They have to respond better, because if that doesn't get fixed, I don't care who you bring in as your OC or your quarterback there in the backfield, it's not going to work out. All right. The other thing that I like is what people have asked me the last 12 hours. So what can we expect? What sort of, setup can we see? What sort of a style of offense? Looking at game film and highlights and tape when he was at Syracuse and when he was at Western Michigan is a lot of times you're going to see 3 and 4 wide receivers out there, or 11 personnel. You're going to have a quarterback. Very seldomly would get under center. A lot of shotgun and a lot of spread rushing attack. All right. So do I expect to see that at Iowa? No, I don't. Maybe situationally, absolutely. I think there has to be a little bit something different added to this offensive scheme. But that being said, KF is not going to give this new hire that much authorization and willing to say, okay, do whatever you want with my offense. So do not expect that, what we would see a lot at Western Michigan, but I do expect that we'll see maybe a variance of that, okay? And also, running game, I'm just telling you, I already said get rid of the damn, the route trees, but I am just sick and tired of the zone stretch run game. I just am. I mean, the zone stretch, I'm tired of it. I don't mind if you do it occasionally during the game, okay, but not every running game. Whatever happened to the good old-fashioned one-on-one? Hey, guy in front of you, that's who you block. Or pulling a guard around or a tackle, okay? Do that. And if Iowa would do that, 5 times a game on 5 rushing attempts, do something different, it would absolutely get the attention of the defense. Like, what was that? What did I just see? So you have to do some things different, but I don't really want Iowa to become basically a spread them out, 4 wide receiver, up-tempo offense. I don't want to see that. You don't want to lose your culture and go completely in a different direction. You don't, but you have, because Iowa doesn't have the roster for that. We don't have the personnel, and that's just not in our DNA, but some new things have to happen. So that's really where I am. It's an appealing hire. I think Iowa fans, you have the right to your opinion. I've seen them. I can't wait to hear them from you directly. But I just say, let's give this guy an opportunity. Let's give him a fair shake. Because after all, it can only get better from here. We were dead last. One can only hope it can get better, right? But give the guy an opportunity. And does he have to have a top 50 offense? He doesn't. We'll take it. That'd be great. But all Iowa has to do, and I've been saying this now ever since I started the channel, Iowa offensively, just be average. That's it. If they have an average, competent, efficient offense with the defense and special teams that they have shown lately, year in and year out, how consistently dominant those 2 phases of the team are, Iowa's going to be able to compete with anybody in the nation. Maybe not defeat, but compete, absolutely they will. Even if the defense and special teams drops off a little bit, you don't have to be a top 50 offense. I would take 85th, maybe even 90th. If you're a top 90 offense, that's going to probably be good enough, and it signifies an improvement. So just be average, if not even just a little bit below average. But don't be bad. Don't be last, okay? So take solace in that, Hawkeye fans. It's only up from here. Let's give the guy a fair chance. Let's give it a full season, and we'll talk at the end of the 2024 season. Look back and then see, what did this hire look like a year past this time? All right, so let's give him some time. Other than that, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for your time and attention today. I will be back later this week for another episode here on the channel. So please click that subscribe button, get notifications, and please get involved. I can't wait to hear from you. Comment below. I will get back to each and every one of you. So enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe, be responsible, and congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. The Super Bowl matchup is set in 2 weeks. Can't wait to watch that. So until later this week, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you soon here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Thanks much. Bye-bye.